So graphing intervals, x is greater or equal to -1. So all the numbers that are larger than -1 would be to the right of -1. You see that they're using a slightly different graph here. They're using, instead of the brackets, they're using this little point here and fill it out. That's the same as brackets. So you can either use this or you can use brackets here. And you show the arrow all the way to the right. And sometimes, like I said, if x is just greater than -1, you just use a hole here instead of using a parenthesis. Just two different ways to represent this. So let's take a look at these examples. Graphing intervals. X is less than 3. So all the number to the left of 3. Now you notice that in this graph, they are using this endpoint and they're kind of showing that it's not included. Again, the best way would be to use a parentheses or brackets. So parentheses means the endpoint is not included. So in this example, all the number between -2 and 0. So I would use parentheses like that. Now in this case, I'm going to use parentheses for this side here. Brackets. Okay, now I'm going to make this correct now. All the number between -1.5 and 3. So we're going to use a bracket here because this endpoint is included, and then this point will be parentheses. So if I were going to write this in interval notation, I would use brackets, -1.5, and then use comma, and that would be 3 parentheses. That means all the numbers between -1.5 and 3. That's how you represent this in interval notation. Write each inequality in interval notation and graph. So x is greater or equal to -3. So all the numbers that are larger than -3 would be to the right of -3. You notice I'm using a bracket. So brackets, -3, comma, infinity. That's how you write the interval notation. Here's another example. All the numbers between 0 and 3.5. Endpoints are not included, so I'm going to use a parentheses. This is my interval notation, and this is my graph. So type of intervals, you can actually pause this section at this point and kind of go through all these, pretty much some scenarios that you could get for set builders and interval notation and a graph. That would be a good resources for you. Let's take a look at this couple of examples. Solve x minus 5 greater than 1 and graph the solution set. So in this case, we're going to isolate x, essentially we're solving an equation. We're going to add 5 to both sides of the equation, so x will be greater than 6. And here our graph, and if I were going to write this in interval notation, I would say parentheses, 6, comma, infinity, parentheses. That's the interval notation. Next example, 5x plus 3 greater or equal to 4x minus 1. I want to isolate the variable x, so I can subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So you get 5x minus 4x, that'll give you x. You notice that I moved the smaller x where the larger x is located to avoid having a negative for coefficient. If you get a negative for the coefficient, then you have to divide both sides of the inequality by negative, and you have to remember to change the direction of inequality. But if I subtract 4x from both sides of the inequality here, on the left-hand side, you get only x. Now, if I go ahead and subtract 3 from both sides of the equation, I move all the number or constant to the right. So x would be greater or equal to minus 4. So this would be my interval notation, and this would be my graph. Solving inequalities. Let's take a look at another example. In this case, we need to distribute. I'm going to distribute the 2, distribute the 8, distribute -2, and then combine like terms, and then move all the variables to one side of the equation and all the numbers to the other side of the equation. When we do this in this case, all the variables turn to 0. So it happens sometimes. So you get -1 is less than or equal to 14. Now, since -1 is always less than or equal to 14, the inequality is true for all real numbers. So the solution to this would be all real number. So you could get all real number in solving inequality. And the interval notation for that would be parentheses, negative infinity, comma, positive infinity, parentheses.